The movie starts with Joe riding a bull and staying on it until the 8 seconds pass and he wins the competition. He looks over at his wife Rose, who is sitting with the crowd, and she's proud of him. At that moment, we hear an alarm clock and realize it was just a dream. Joe is reliving an old memory when he won the championship for the 3rd time. We then see Joe, now older, leaving his house, getting in his car, and driving around town. He goes to a calf riding event for young kids. He helps his grandson Cody get ready while he's seated on the calf inside the gate. The gate opens, the calf takes off, and Cody stays on for all 8 seconds, successfully completing the ride. Everyone is happy for him. Afterward, he and Joe go to a cafeteria to sit down. There they watch on TV an interview with Billy, the #1 bull rider champion. The interview is being done in preparation for the big competition happening in 2 days. Billy has always won the championship in previous years, and everyone expects him to win again this year. Cody tells his grandfather that if he entered the competition, he would beat Billy. Joe responds that he used to win back in the day, having won 3 championships in a row, but he retired a long time ago. These days aren't his anymore. The next day, we see Joe watching his grandson Cody playing baseball. Then Sally, Cody's mom and Joe's daughter, comes and sits with him. From their conversation, it's clear that their relationship isn't good. She asks Joe not to encourage her son to ride bulls because it has no future. During the game, Cody gets hit in the head by the ball, falls down, and everyone is worried about him until he gets up and continues playing. Later, they return to Joe's farmhouse. While Joe is outside talking with Sally, they hear Cody calling them from inside. They rush in and Cody tells them he feels dizzy and fell to the ground. Sally says it's because of the baseball hit and that he'll be fine in time. She takes him and walks away. But later that same day, Joe gets a phone call from Sally. He hears her voice breaking down, telling him that Cody is suddenly sick and they're at the hospital. Joe rushes there immediately. At the hospital, doctors tell them Cody needs a brain scan and they need to travel to another hospital, where there's a specialist neurologist. They drive through the night to the other city. At the doctor's office, they learn the bad news. Cody has a brain tumor and urgently needs surgery. Sally goes to the bathroom and locks herself in, clearly scared. Later, while waiting in the hospital lounge, an insurance worker arrives and informs them that their insurance doesn't cover the surgery costs. Joe insists to the worker that they have money and asks her to prepare everything. After she leaves, Sally asks him where they'll get the money from. Joe tells her they can sell the house, but she reminds him it already has 2 mortgages. He tells her to trust him, that he'll find a solution, and asks her to give him some time. He asks permission to go home to get some clothes for her and returns to the farm. He calls his old friend Charlie, who answers surprised since they haven't spoken in years. Joe asks him to come right away to the farm because he needs him, and promises to explain when he arrives. Then Joe calls someone named Jimmy and leaves him a voice message saying that he's accepted his offer to compete in the bull riding competition. After making the call, Joe leaves the house and begins training hard to regain his physical shape, even though he's clearly older. And it's not easy for him to get back in shape. Charlie soon arrives, asking what Joe wants. Joe gives him a tour of the farm and explains that his grandson needs urgent surgery. And since they're friends, Charlie will go with him to the competition among the 20 younger riders to try and win the $1 million prize to pay for the surgery. Charlie laughs, knowing it's almost impossible for someone Joe's age to compete, especially with all the injuries Joe has had. He thinks the idea is crazy, but Joe is determined. He says he has no other choice and will go, even if Charlie refuses to help him. He asks Charlie directly if he'll help or leave him alone. Finally, Charlie agrees to go, not because he believes Joe can compete, but because of their old friendship. Joe packs his things and they leave together in the car, heading toward the hospital first. Sally's already there, so Joe hands her the bag of clothes. She asks how he'll handle the money situation. He tells her he already found a way. Just then, Charlie enters, and Sally sees him for the first time in years. She's surprised. Joe tells her that he decided to join the bull riding competition. At first, she doesn't believe him and says this isn't the time for jokes. But when she realizes they're serious, she's shocked that her father is going back to bull riding. She tells him she'll never forget how hard life was after her mother died and after his back injury, which made him wish for death. If he doesn't remember, she certainly does. Joe tells her he has no choice. He needs the money for the surgery. He hugs her and goes to say goodbye to Cody before they leave. He lets Cody know he'll be gone for 2 days and promises that when he returns, he'll tell him where he was. He makes Cody promise to stay strong so that after the surgery, he can take him and let him compete in the calf riding competition next year. They leave and drive to the state where the competition is held. When they arrive, Jimmy walks in and sees them. He's happy to see them again, recalling many old memories. He remembers how great Joe used to be in the competitions. Joe tells Jimmy he didn't just want to be a past champion, he wanted to be a champion today too. He tells him he listened to his voice message and accepted his offer to compete. Jimmy is surprised. He thought Joe never responded to that offer from 10 years ago. Joe explains that he decided to compete this year and only asked that Jimmy enter him in the competition. Jimmy says it's not as easy as Joe remembers. Joe gets upset and walks out. Charlie talks to Jimmy and tries to convince him to let Joe compete, pointing out that he was once a champion and could be used for promotion. Plus, it wasn't impossible for him to stay on the bull for 8 seconds. Jimmy agrees, but only if Joe doesn't cause any trouble and doesn't drink like he used to. Later that evening, Joe dreams of dancing with his late wife, Rose. The next day, Joe and Charlie go to the competition site. In the locker room, it's clear the other younger riders aren't happy to see someone like Joe competing. The competition officially begins with media attention. Riders start taking turns trying to stay on the bulls. Many fail to last the full 8 seconds. Of course, Billy succeeds and moves to the second round, cheered by the crowd. It's finally Joe's turn. He's getting ready to enter the ring when he gets a call from his daughter Sally. She tells him Cody's surgery has been postponed and that doctors will consult again the next day. Joe is shocked by the news. He talks to Charlie, who tells him he must forget everything and focus on the competition. We then see Joe in the gate, mounted on the bull. Everyone is watching closely, wondering if something will happen or if he'll come out unharmed. He prepares himself, and the gate opens. The bull bucks violently, trying to throw Joe off, but Joe manages to hold on for all 8 seconds. He qualifies for the next round, surprising everyone. Afterward, Billy approaches him and says it was great that he made it through the first round, but advises him to quit before he gets hurt. Joe ignores his words. Jimmy meets them later and congratulates Joe, admitting he didn't think he'd make it further than that. But Joe surprises him by saying he intends to finish the entire competition and win, not just one round. The next day, during the competition, everyone is waiting to see how Joe will do. The gate opens and the bull charges out, slamming Joe into the metal gate and throwing him off before the 8 seconds are up. Joe asks the judges for a re-ride since the bull hit him on the gate. At first, the judge refuses, but after reviewing the video replay, he allows Joe to repeat the round. We see Joe injured in his side, talking to a doctor, insisting he can continue and asking not to announce his injury because he feels he can still finish. Charlie helps him hide the injury while preparing for the re-ride. He tries to calm him down and tells him to focus. Joe mounts the bull again. The gate opens, and the bull charges out violently, trying to throw him off. But Joe holds on until the 8 seconds pass and succeeds again, receiving high scores. The crowd stands up and cheers for him, showing deep respect for what he's accomplished. That night, they go to a bar. Joe gets a call from his grandson, Cody, before the surgery. Cody is excited to see his grandpa on TV. Then Sally speaks and tells Joe that doctors said there's a high chance Cody might end up paralyzed or disabled after the surgery. The call ends, and Joe is clearly worried about his grandson. When he returns to his seat, he finds another rider sitting in his chair. Joe asks him to move, but the rider stands up arrogantly and pushes Joe. When he tries to hit Joe, Joe defends himself and hits him more than once. The police arrive at the bar. We see Jimmy scolding Joe because he specifically told him not to cause trouble or drink alcohol. He warns Joe that if the police press charges, there will be problems and he'll be disqualified from the competition. Joe stubbornly says he'll finish the competition no matter what happens. He walks away. Charlie talks to Jimmy and explains Cody's medical condition, telling him Joe really needs the money. Jimmy understands why Joe is so determined and decides to help. He offers to fly Joe to the hospital on his private jet to visit Cody and return the same day. On the plane, Joe learns that news of his grandson's illness has leaked to the media. He blames Charlie for telling Jimmy and insists he doesn't want anyone's pity. Charlie explains it's not for that reason, it's for Cody, and it might help raise donations for the surgery. They land and go to the hospital. Joe finds his daughter Sally sleeping in the hospital garden. He sits beside her, gently touches her, wakes her up, and they talk about their broken relationship. Sally tells him the real reason she's angry is because after her mother died, he drank too much and made her travel constantly with him without caring for her. Joe admits she's right. He apologizes and says he can't blame her for being angry with him. He hugs her and promises to make it up to both her and her son. He tells her he's confident he'll win the competition the next day and provide the money for Cody's surgery. At the end of the day, they board the plane to return. Jimmy calls them and tells them he managed to convince the rider who attacked Joe not to press charges so Joe can continue the competition. They return to the competition site. Billy sees Joe and apologizes for doubting him earlier. He wishes Cody a successful surgery and says they should focus on the competition because he's a strong opponent. Next, each rider draws a name randomly to decide which bull they'll ride. Only 2 bulls remain, one extremely strong one named Fireflame. Joe grabs the microphone and chooses to ride Fireflame, leaving the other bull for Billy. The competition begins. The bulls keep throwing riders off. Only Billy manages to complete the ride successfully. Now, the final match is between Joe and Billy. Joe must score higher than Billy to win. Everyone watches anxiously. This is the crucial moment that will decide Cody's fate. Joe gets into the gate, mounted on the bull. People wonder if he can do the impossible, win the $1 million at his age. The gate opens, the bull charges out furiously, and Joe holds on with all his strength until the 8 seconds pass. He succeeds, but falls off badly injured. As Joe lies in pain, he asks Charlie if he lasted the full 8 seconds. Charlie confirms he did. Joe can't move, and he tells Charlie he sees his late wife Rose sitting in the crowd. He imagines her watching and thanks her, saying he couldn't have done it without her. Meanwhile, we see Sally and Cody in the operating room. She's very worried. The doctors come out and reassure her. 6 months later, we see Joe and Charlie arriving at a baseball field where Cody is playing again, fully recovered. His mom, Sally, cheers for him. Later, they go to the cafeteria, happy and relaxed. A TV interview shows Billy announcing that although he won the competition, he donated part of his prize to Cody's fundraising campaign. Billy says Joe's decision to compete was a brave one, and even though he didn't win first place, he earned everyone's respect. That's why Billy decided to give part of his winnings to help Cody. In the final scene, Joe dances with his daughter Sally, who calls him dad for the first time in years. She thanks him for saving her son, hugs him tightly, and Joe is deeply moved, proud of himself.